Hey everybody, and welcome back to CobbDev. To celebrate Half-Life Alyx's release, today we're going to be recreating the gravity gun from Half-Life 2 in Unreal Engine 4. The gravity gun is a weapon from the Half-Life series with the ability to pick up objects and punt them with tremendous force. Today's challenge is to recreate it in Unreal Engine 4. I boiled down the process into 3 steps. Step 1. Create a rig and animations for a first-person character and the gravity gun. Step 2. Create the ability to hold and launch items. Step 3. Add particle effects and audio. So I loaded up a custom UE4 template that I created. It's the same as the first-person shooter template, but with the unnecessary things removed, such as the VR setup and the default mesh. But this is looking a little empty, so let's add in our gun. I downloaded this beautiful gravity gun model that I found on Sketchfab, made by Christian Lagrange. I've linked his page in the description if you'd like to check it out for yourself. Now this model looked great, but we needed to add some animations. So I threw it into Blender, separated it into parts, and started giving it a simple rig. Now we need some arms to hold the gun as well, so I imported a rigged pair of arms that I made in my free time a few months ago. If you want these arms for yourself, I've linked a download in the description, and commercial use is allowed. So I started out with just an idle animation, so I could move it into Unreal Engine and see how it looks. I attached it to the camera, changed the shadows to self only so we wouldn't get those ugly floating arm shadows, and it's already looking good. Next, I created a sphere trace from the camera that checks for objects that were simulating physics. After that, I added a physics handle to the character which gives us the ability to grab and drop objects. I then updated our sphere trace to grab the object when we right-click instead of just detecting it. Right-clicking while holding an object will now drop it. I didn't want you to pick up anything that was simulating physics, so I made sure that the object's mass had to be less than 300 units for you to pick it up. Next was adding the energy impulse, which I bound to the left click to only affect objects of the type physics actor, and placed it right in front of the gun. With the easy stuff out of the way, I now had to add some resistance or drag to the item if it is far away. So instead of the physics handle grabbing the object when it's detected by our trace, I replaced it by adding a negative force multiplied by the camera's forward vector, multiplied by an integer based off the distance from the object to the camera. Once that distance was a value less than 300, our physics handle grabs it. It's looking good, but the items seem to get into a nasty habit of extreme angular momentum, so I bumped up the angular damping to an average of 5 for all the items simulating physics, and that gave it a lot more of a natural feel. To make the gravity gun feel more immersive, I went back into Blender and added more animations for walking, shuddering, opening and closing the claws, etc. With a little bit more work, those were in place, and I added some last bit of polish such as camera shakes, a particle effect, and sound effects. And this is what the end result looks like. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing and liking the video. If you want to be even more involved, the link to the channel's Discord is in the description. See you next time.